Hello, and welcome back to episode 2 of War Plan Orange as the Allies in the 1926 scenario. We finished up the West Coast, and I'm recording this after the previous episode went live. I do have some comments already, and I wanted to address those. First, there was the consideration that I am evacuating all military units from the West Coast, which is true. I'm not too concerned about it, partly because we have an arrivals schedule that will be having ships showing up. Oh, yeah, right, wrong. Dooby-dooby-doo, where are they? Intelligence, that's right. Ships will start arriving here in the not too distant future. Like we have a destroyer at let's get rid of the transports. We have a destroyer, cruiser that's going to Pearl Harbor. We get the British carriers in Colombo in 3 months. Bunch more. Karachi, Colombo, Pearl Harbor, San Diego. I thought there was going to be more destroyers arriving in the San Diego area, but it's still not a concern. Like, ranges are much shorter than War in the Pacific. In addition to that, it only takes a week, maybe 2 if you're particularly slow, transit between Pearl Harbor and San Francisco. And I intend to set up kind of a cordon of scouts along a midway down to sort of the Marshalls area, somewhere around here. And that should detect any lighter fleets heading by, unless submarines might be a little hard to find. But submarines are particularly a lot shorter range than what you see in War in the Pacific. So while I do intend on escorting any colonies that come out of here after a few months, between the Pearl Harbor and West Coast, I feel no need to do so right from the beginning. I do intend on pursuing a pretty aggressive start with my submarines, get them out, get them around the home islands, possibly involved in intercepting fleets, resupplying any Japanese troops on mainland China. Not that I won't use them for scouting eventually. They'll be part of maybe an outer cordon line. And then I plan to follow the historic War Plan Orange to an extent, not fully, and have the main battle fleet muster up in Pearl Harbor, split up into usable chunks. Like there's a 25 ship limit that we ran into, but also that tends to be better if you have smaller ship divisions of ships that are all supporting each other, and sending those on over here to the Philippines with a relief fleet to help break the siege of the Philippines. I know in my 1922 game, I kind of lost the Philippines to the Japanese. There wasn't much I could do, but I ended up having this cordon line right along this area. Kind of actually historic to the War Plan Orange plan, which was to, okay, the Philippines are going to fall. There's not much we can do about that, but we can delay them. And to delay them, we should withdraw from a lot of the Philippines and pull into the Bataan Peninsula area and await relief, presuming that they would last several months. My 1922 game, I wasn't trying to do that. I was actually trying to be really aggressive. I had troops all the way up to here, along the northern end of the island. And and all the way down to Legazpi. Or no, not Legazpi. Naga. Legazpi got taken by the Japanese, and then they moved up here. I ended up falling back to here, and the line stabilized, and they were unable to push forward. As well as, no, the Japanese took Davao after a while. I was able to hold up in Cagayan, but even that eventually fell as well. So Mindanao was not, I wasn't able to save that island. But presuming that, I plan on being a little bit more aggressive, pulling in some British forces, pulling in, well, there's not much I can do with the Netherlands East Indies. There's not a lot of forces. I don't want to pull too many from them. I might be able to use some of these ships in Batavia and Surabaya, as well as the Anzac fleets. Might be able to get them involved in a way I didn't in the 1922 game. That might be super aggressive, might be foolish, but it's something I want to tentatively feel out as the game progresses, because I've never played the 1926 scenario. I don't know what to expect. So I do plan to not play as far ahead with these, and I know due to the rendering times, changing resolutions, that I may not be playing War Plan Orange as often as I do anything else. So I'm welcoming suggestions, preferred strategies you'd like to see. I'm willing to entertain those, and I'll discuss them. And even if I don't use it, I'm willing to spend a couple minutes, say, hey, I ended up not going with that because XYZ. Or, you know what, I heard the suggestion, I really like it because ABC. So please feel free to leave comments. I won't be as far ahead as I am with the Rule the Wave series. But that kind of outlines what I'm intending to do. Having done all that, I am going to skip Pearl Harbor. Just because there's so much over there. Oh, yeah. I will hit the islands. Start forming up some of these fleets and get them out. What I have to decide is what I'm going to do for Midway. Am I going to reinforce it? Am I going to do something with it? But for now, I'm going to send the ship back. I'm not going to leave ships in Midway. I do want to expand fortifications and the airfield. The port, I don't mind leaving alone. For Pearl Harbor, absolutely, we'll be expanding the port, the airfield, and the fortifications. I should at least consider doing something with the other Hawaiian ports, but I'm not terribly concerned by it. Looking at the supply levels, it might have to wait for the immediate future. Not that it's hard. I mean, you send one transport here, one transport there, and they'll all get taken care of. I also want to think about what islands I'm going to end up reinforcing and building up forward supply bases. They'll be a bit more important because fleets are thirstier. There's a lot less fuel efficiency in this time period. A few French transports we have here. The French Colonial HQ is attached to French colonies. Oh, wrong one. Bases, I want ground units. If I just look at this will tell me all of the commands that are available. It does not have the French colonies. Attached to French colonies. Interesting. I'll get back to that. I know down here in the Anzac area, I was using Brisbane as kind of a staging area, but I ended up moving them up to Port Moresby and setting up Robbo as a submarine base. I think what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to set up Port Moresby as a forward base of sorts. I do want to take a look at port capacities because I may want to consider another base instead in the area, but I think Port Moresby is going to be the one for the Anzac fleet. And then I can move them around, transfer them over to the Netherlands, East Indies, Philippines, even up into China by a circuitous route, or combine them up with the US fleet as we move in. Port capacity 3, 3, 1, 2. No, Rabaul has a pretty extensive port. I still want to expand that. And what I'm looking at is the 1 brackets 2 for Woodlark. That's showing me that, okay, the current port capacity is 1, the soft maximum is 2. You can go above that, but it requires progressively more. I'm looking at that brackets number for the potential capacity to see where might I want to stage in the future. Now though, let's get things moving. Dunedin Fortress. We have a couple of brigades, New Zealand brigades. A couple brigades there as well. I think this is a little bit more than was available in the 1922 scenario. But I do want to stage them forward, and I do think I want it to be Port Moresby, really considering Rabaul. Let's see, who has more fuel right off the bat? 3,000, 1,200. Yeah, we're going to go to Rabaul. I'm going to auto disband them at that point. I don't want Brisbane. Ah, I see what I did. Okay, retirement allowed, auto disband. We'll go there, disband, and be ready for action. The other thing I have to consider is what to do with these transports. The Anzac area, there's not a lot of fuel down here, nor does a lot develop. Not a lot of supplies either. We'll need some fuel and supplies moving forward. Tempted to start integrating the Anzac transports into the American supply system and just have them move up to Pearl Harbor, grab some supplies, and bring it back down to Rabaul. Like, that does bring us through the Marshalls. I'm not too concerned about that initially. Turn to Pearl Harbor. Take a look at this path, make sure it'll be alright. Yeah, that's far enough. I'm not too terribly concerned having them unescorted for the first month or two. After the first month or two, though, those transports need to be escorted. Submarines start pushing down into this area. Actually, we'll split them up because of that. I'll send the French ones up to Pearl Harbor as well. I will auto disband you. And the faster troop transport. Set to Pearl Harbor. Auto disband, return. That takes care of those ones. Oh yeah, I forgot. Auckland has their own base. We'll get the Chatham. Do you want to know what that ship looks like? Pretty typical British destroyer. Actually, I think this is identical to the 1922 scenario. They were built around that time. We're going to see if they have like a build date or something. I don't see one. I don't remember. Do a little bit of an investigation into the time period of pre-dreadnoughts through super dreadnoughts, and sometimes I confuse my sources. Alright, let's start by heading into the Australian backwoods. We'll leave a lot of these transports because we'll want to start assigning some of these brigades, moving them forward. And I don't want to walk them across the Australian backwoods. Take forever. We do have the military fleet up here in Sydney, as well as Brisbane, I think. The Australia and the New Zealand are two battle cruisers that were, I think, were they purpose built? Indefatigable class. I don't think they were purposely built. I think as this class aged, the Brits either built a modified version specifically for Australia and New Zealand, or they repurposed the Indefatigable battle cruisers into the Australia and the New Zealand. I have to double check that though. I'm by no means a historical expert. And as much as I do study this on the side, I that's not something you can necessarily have a lot of confidence in unless that's your focus. But either way, they were definitely modified at the very least for use in the Anzac fleets. Sydney transports. Sure, I think I will leave them there. We do have the Australian subs. We'll get those split out here shortly. And the question is whether to... Actually, what is their range? 91. One of the things I did is I kind of set them out to intercept in a lot of these islands. And I didn't see a lot of success with that. So I may send them up here into the Netherlands East Indies. And see if they can do some good up that way. Because there's definitely a lot of Japanese shipping up in that area for at least first couple months. Philippines being absolutely necessary objective for the Japanese war plan. Prevent the Allies from having a forward base close to the home islands. But considering this happens in 1926, not later on, the Japanese-Sino War hasn't occurred yet. So we will have bases in Shanghai or Hong Kong or Tianjin. Like, we have those bases to use for sub bases at the least. Surface fleets, it's a little bit risky. We have some Sopwiths down here. And I'm not as familiar with all of the aircraft that are available, since there's very few in the 1922 scenario start. Okay, Brisbane just has transports. Barnes. I have an infantry brigade in Port Moresby, and in Robbo we have battalion. Alt 25. Alright, look through New Guinea. Garrisons, which is what about what I expect. Same as we move through here. I am going to get these transports out of the way, since I'm checking the island. Put those out. I'm not going to send them to some far-flung area, though. I'm going to send them to Singapore for now. Maybe Batavia. I mean, it's more thematically appropriate because Netherlands. We'll do that. Now auto disband, form a new one. Transport. Get the 212 not ones. Auto disband. And out here on the tip, garrisons. About what I expect. Alright, so we were up here, moving through here. 2 transports and 2 infantry battalions. Barrow Force and Gull Force. Virtually identical. Oh, they are identical. That are already assigned to Southwest Pacific. I didn't discover this until like a month into the war in the 1922 game. But these can actually be loaded onto these 2 transports that are waiting. They can be moved immediately. We want to go. It's a tough choice. I'm going to send it to Davao to begin. I don't think they'll make it in time to be of any good. I'm going to set them there and redirect them as needed. Probably set the home base to Manila or Singapore. Set it to Manila for now. We'll go drop off the troops and supplies and bug out. Troop transport there. In Perth, I have a couple transports. Nothing too crazy. I'll take care of Borneo. Think there's going to be any significant forces. I would rather leave them in place as defensive forces. Balikpapan, I'm definitely going to start moving one of the tankers to move some of that fuel out and about. With the Anastasia. No disband, retirement allowed, unload. Home base is here, load with fuel. I want to set that to Singapore because we have a lot of fuel. We're going to need a lot of fuel in Singapore. And that will go unescorted for the time being. these other transports, I think I'm going to do the same thing I was doing with the other Netherlands East Indies, sending them to Batavia. Sorabaya's got a bigger port, but I like having Batavia as an option, because if we start detecting Japanese units coming in here or here, rather than racing to one of these outlets into the Indian Ocean, they're literally right there in the straits. They can pop out and run for it. I like staging the softer, squishier transports there, at least conceptually. Okay, that takes care of that. Now we'll start looking at East Indies proper. There is another, is it Kuching? No. Brunei has a significant fuel presence as well. Double checking the rest of them. I remember there only being 2 tankers. I wanted to be sure. Get another tanker out of Batavia. Tanker, I said. There we go. At their home base at Brunei. No auto disband. They'll go over there, they'll pick up some fuel, start unloading in Singapore. There's definitely more forces available here. These 2 transports. Move them. Avia. And same with these ones. I don't care that they're different speeds, such a short trip. Batavia. Auto disband, return. Got to auto disband this one. Now we start getting into the meat and potatoes in the Netherlands East Indies. Don't care about the transports. Do have a sub-tender. We'll have to keep that in mind. These are ancient torpedo boats. Very limited range. And then we have... Okay, so these are the same ships I'm familiar with. It's just they only had one of these in the Zeven Provincian class. Okay. In the 1922 scenario. And they had these 2, the Koning and Regentes class. Pretty sure it was this one, was the 3rd one. And then they had the Jacob von Hemskirk was on the availability list, arriving at some later date. We have these 4 battleships. And I think I'm going to move them on up. We'll take a stop in Brunei for supplies, and then depending on how things work out, what does the Philippine Defense Force look like? Top auxiliary subs. Okay, so there in the 1922 scenario, there was actually a monitor out here with 2 guns. Now there isn't, it's just destroyers. So there's not much to the Asiatic fleet, which doesn't seem very historical. Where did the Asiatic fleet end up then? I think these light cruisers, those are the Chinese Navy. That part is no different. Then we have the US Navy destroyers in Shanghai. Okay, so there's a bunch of them, so that's part of the Asiatic fleet, but there should be a cruiser out here somewhere. We have these guys. That's no different. And we will set them to training initially. Not expecting much to be out here. Depending on how things develop, we'll start sending them for a proper cap. Possibly some naval search. Oh yeah, it's going to take a while to actually sort through everything. These are the French cruisers. I got them chewed up. Oh, they're taking a trip over to Manila by default. Considering there's no heavy guns, but if I send these, they're also ancient and more of a monitor style. So I am going to be cautious with them. Wait, let's set them for Singapore. I can pick up a destroyer escort there. I'm concerned about that. We'll go to Singapore. No need to disband at that point. No need to switch all of the transports over either to Batavia. We will get the Ace. What are these torpedo boats good for? I need to remind myself. They might not actually be any good for ASW. Nope, they have depth charges. 2. Not much, but it's something. These can be used as port defense in ASW combat. I like them to work in pairs, preferably. Undock task force, don't disband, retirement is allowed. They will be used for port defense in Surabaya. And Z3 and 4 be used for port defense in Batavia. Retirement allowed. And return to Batavia. Set destination. No need to return to port. That should be everything I care about there. We have the sub tender. I'm probably going to want to move those. Maybe not. Maybe I'll just leave it in Surabaya and Batavia, because there's one here as well. I'm not going to worry about moving all these transports either. Get the subs out. Sub patrol. Question is where to send them. Range is 61. Get them up to Saigon. They go to Hong Kong? Yeah, they'll be able to make it up to Hong Kong. Might even send them to Manila, but I don't know if they'll make it to be effective. So let's do Hong Kong. Send them to Hong Kong and they can filter out from there to wherever they happen to be needed. Control 9, Hong Kong, and Sub Patrol 11, Hong Kong. Get those subs moving, we'll do the same thing here. Oh, we have 4 more torpedo boats. 5 and the light cruiser Java. What is the light cruiser Java? A bit beefier than I was expecting. Quite a few 5.9-inch guns. Like 3 casemates along the sides and then 2 pairs. 1 forward, 1 aft. Some OKA defense. And it's got mines, so we can use it as a mine layer. And as a couple of scouts. I might leave that down here as kind of a scouting force. I'll go ahead and set up now. Not really set up for that. Worried about an offensive commander. Leadership. What have you got? Naval skill, air skill, aggression, 42. Okay. Yeah, that's not too bad. We'll set them up as a scouting force. Probably here in the South China Sea. Give them a home base of Brunei, that way when they have to resupply, they'll just tuck in there. Recharge on fuel, and be on their way. And that brings to mind, where do I want to put these torpedo boats? And that becomes pretty obvious after mentioning Brunei. Yeah, 2 depth charges. Give this one a home base in Brunei. And we'll send the other ASW force over to Balikpapan. Return. We'll head out that way. I missed one. Transports. Get these transports out of there. Let's return them to Surabaya. I know I said I want them to be able to tuck out, but we should have some indication before the Japanese get that far. We can start restaging them to a more appropriate area for potential evacuation. Let's go back to Batavia. We'll get our sub patrols moving. Looks like more of the same kind of sub. There's not very many torpedoes. These are very basic submarines. Makes them really good scouts, actually. Well, not really, because they're short-ranged. But they'll make them decent in the South China Sea. All of them headed out to Hong Kong. Hopefully we'll be able to use them. They might sink something, they might not. Not a big deal either way. They can at least scout as we lose territory. Because we're going to lose territory. The question is how much. If I can minimize it, we win. Van Berkel's recon squadron carries 2 24-pound bombs. Or 10 kilogram bombs. Absolutely minuscule. I'll leave them here. Let's put them to training, actually. In the 1922 game, I actually shipped them, transferred them to the Southwest Command, and then shipped them over to Manila, and they were bombing Japanese troops there. Not that that was particularly effective, but it at least disrupted them to a limited extent. Okay, so do I want to tackle the Philippines yet? Or do I want to move on? There's so much to do. Okay, we have a few air squadrons in India. Scattered out. Brisfits. This is actually a decent one. Carries a couple 100-pound bombs. If I remember correctly, still pretty limited on range. Yeah. Because that was one of the ones that's right there at the beginning in 1922. They just haven't deployed yet. There's 1 squadron instead of 2. French have anything? Okay. Let's see, what do we have here? 1 submarine, 5 destroyers. I'll at least move the destroyers and submarine up to Singapore. They can move from there. And then if I want to have any 4, they're pretty limited on range. Oh yeah, it won't make it to Singapore. Stop in Colombo for fuel. Yeah, there we go. If I won't have any hope of a regular schedule, I'm probably going to have to call the episode shortly and see about what I want to do about potentially recording one more episode today. Might not. I have the transports. I have a bunch of mountain artillery regiments. Let's get 1, 2, 3, 4. What is this one and how is it different? So those mountain regiments, those are small howitzers that are more mobile. We have 18 pounders and 4.5 inch. Both in the Southeast Asia division. This is the base force, so we're not going to move them. We might get a group of 5 or 10 transports together. 9. Right. We will get all of the transports together. We'll load troops and box up the aircraft and get all the artillery on board. You'll see that's way under load, but that's good, as they'll get split up amongst multiple transports. We don't have 10, so there won't be 2 to each. I'm not that concerned about this convoy getting hit, but I don't want to take unnecessary risks either. That gets them moving. Then we have that one and armored car. Speaking of which, what do we have up here in the inland? I believe Delhi has an armored car and the West Surrey Regiment. Which we will set them a destination. Send them to Karachi. Maybe I should send them instead to Bombay. Or even to Calcutta. Or I guess Diamond Harbor. Calcutta doesn't have a port capacity. Or Chandpur. I mean, it'll take them a while. Might be faster to send Karachi and ship them. But let's see. Have them march over to Diamond Harbor. And we'll ship them from there. Any other land units in the interior that we want to move in India? There's one. Get the Armored Car Division, bring them to Diamond Harbor. Yeah, it's probably best. They can get on a rail path if they go to Rangoon, but a little bit circuitous. They end up getting on a trail that's going to slow them down a lot, especially as an armored car division or battalion or company. So we have one company here. Them over to Diamond Harbor, and having them all in one place, easy to pick up, is nice. Then we have the 1st Indian Division, proper division too. Plenty of supporting artillery. Let's see, what is the load capacity of this division? 10,000. I don't think a single troop transport is going to manage that. So let's get Alphabis and then Texan and the Montanan. They will load the 1st Indian Division. Cancel that. I don't want to put 2 more just in case. Since the cargo ships are less efficient at loading troops, as you can see with this value. Giving them plenty. They'll pick up supplies with the rest and send them to Singapore. They can disband there after they unload their cargo. Actually, I don't want them carrying supplies. Cancel. Load only troops. Done. Turn to Singapore. That way they won't drain Chandpur of supplies. Leave those transports for now. Leave those ones for now. In field artillery. Cargo ships are good at moving field artillery. Just move all of the transports. Look. High level. We'll load only troops then. And head to Singapore. This will serve the purpose of using Singapore as a staging area, as well as serving in the defense of Singapore. Should the Japanese get particularly aggressive. Alright, we'll have plenty to do in that area. Naji, not too worried about, but we did use all of the transports in Karachi, so we'll send these ones over there. And then the slow boats. We'll send to... Should be enough in Diamond Harbor with 20 transports there. Go ahead and send these guys to Singapore. I'm kind of collecting everything in Singapore. Once it gets there, I'll end up divvying it out as necessary. Have the armored car company. Plenty of fuel too. Get a tanker. Gorilla. Load fuel. Go to Singapore. Turn. Auto disband. Then we'll do the same thing with the transport. Actually use this one, load only troops, and we load both of them. Should be able to. Turn to Singapore, auto disband. Then lastly, get all these ones together, load additional fuel, return to Singapore, auto disband. Well, we could probably spare some supplies. That's actually quite a bit. Things I want to do before I forget. And the port, airfield, fortifications. Avia, fortifications, airfield. Torbaya, fortifications, airfield. Likapan, fortifications, airfield. Brunei, fortifications, airfield. Did I do the same for Port Moresby? Did. Norabal. I did. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. So with that, we're going to conclude this episode. We made it through the Pacific Islands, Anzac area, Netherlands East Indies, and India, with the exception of the British naval base in Colombo. Next episode, we'll probably end up working through modern-day Thailand and Indochina, and possibly the Chinese mainland, which, while daunting seeing all of these units, a lot of them are locked and we can't move them. And hopefully finish the Philippines as well at that same time. So please leave. Thank you for staying till the end. Please leave me a comment. Let me know what you think, especially strategically, like what long-term plan should we be aiming for. I'm really excited to see what you guys think is the best option in a 1926 scenario given what we have. And I will see you next time. Take care.